same tier throughout this whole pod. Ready, rookie. So these guys are ready.
They're ready.
You're ready to go week one for both those guys we just talked about. I wonder this next guy as well. Number 28 for you on your top 40 list
Jayden
is
Daniels, Washington Commanders, number 2 overall pick, Heisman Trophy winner, baller supreme. Yes, he will be the starter day one. Let's just get that out of the conversation right away as the number 2 pick. And another guy where does he need a few some work here and there? Okay, sure. We'll get into that in a second. But, you know, there's a lot more to build on and the positives than anything. I mean, his throwing, first off, is just it's a consistent machine for the most part. That's what I would say with Jayden Daniels. He's got a great motion, right? He can replicate it time after time after time, right? He can make any throw in the field like we talked about during the draft process. He does not need a lot of space to do it. He doesn't. He can throw over people because he's so tall and long, right? He does see the field well. All of that, and then, of course, his get-out-of-jail-free card with his running, and if he sees a lane, is going to help him a lot in the NFL. It's going to make him dangerous in the NFL. And I think it's, of course, going to lead to a lot of highlight plays. I don't have any doubt about that.
He was your number 2 quarterback behind Caleb Williams in the draft rankings. The narrative Pete has put here is slight-framed, run-first quarterback who is talented but could get crushed in the NFL.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't think he's a run-first quarterback. I think people are wrong to say that when I hear that narrative, right? He wants to throw it. Now, is he a little quick to leave the pocket or maybe not go through the reads? Yes, but I don't think it's enough where I would classify it run first. He's just a 1-2, then run, right? And he needs to get to 1-2-3 and then run. And then he'll get to a point like a year or two from now where he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I can run. Like I can see it all, and I can get to that run thing in a quick, right? He'll get there. He will. But yeah, right now, that's where he is. Let alone, you know, the other two negatives I would throw with that, you know, I talked about a little bit during the process too. You don't see a ton of arm angles throwing the football, right? Right? And he doesn't always get that front shoulder turned, and we talked about that too, to his backside, to where it can lead to an errant throw. But not that I'm concerned about it or anything like that. But as I alluded to with the Bo Nix conversation a minute ago, right? The biggest thing I think that Jayden Daniels needs to work on is a little bit of that. It goes into the run first thing, but it's not run first. It's the pocket, hanging in there a little bit longer, and then moving in the pocket a little bit better, whether that's to make people miss the setup to throw or just feeling the soft spot in the pocket to then have the time to throw or at least not take the sack, I think is going to be part of the Jayden Daniels development as we go here.
So that would be...
I think this is such great points brought up. I really do. And for multiple reasons, I think this is why Jayden Daniels is going to be set up to really succeed, because I think Cliff Kingsbury is going to help him stay in the pocket a little bit longer and kind of, you know, move beyond this idea that he is a run-first quarterback, and he's going to highlight, you know, his arm as well as still take advantage of his legs, right? You still want to take advantage of that, but also understand what that means in the NFL. And then in terms of him being able to move around in the pocket and use some of that mobility, I actually think not only will Cliff Kingsbury obviously impact that too, but I also think that that's where Quinn will come in as well. Because he's going to come to Jayden and be like, this is what defenses want to do to you. These are your flaws. I see your flaws. I'm the defensive, dare I say, genius. So I'm going to, like, these are the ways that I'm going to beat you. This is how I'm going to attack you. And this is the way you beat the ways that I'm going to try to attack you. You understand what I'm saying? So that's where I think Jayden Daniels, he might be poised to have the best two offensive, defensive coaches to help get him to where he needs to be. I don't think he's got like the best offensive mind necessarily, or potentially maybe even the best defensive mind in the NFL. It's debatable, but he has the best combo. He has the best 1-2 punch, I think, unless I'm forgetting someone. I mean, maybe probably Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes with and Spags, but like he's already developed for the most part. So, but I mean from like a young developmental standpoint. And quite frankly, that's a lot of time. That's what Jalen Hurts had in the beginning of his career, with his OC and Shane Steichen and his DC, who now is the coach for Arizona as well as the coach for the Colts. So that's why I just think that Jayden Daniels is poised to really come along nicely. Because I think even I think one of the benefits when you have this balanced offense, defense, minds in the room, I think, right, we all know rookie quarterbacks, any quarterbacks for the most part, right, are going to go through adversity. They're going to have their ups and downs, but especially rookie quarterbacks. And I just think having the voices of Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury I think they'll be able to weather that a little bit more easily, because sometimes an OC, no matter how good they are, they can only see things from that offensive mind. And in fact, Shanahan famously makes his offensive staff work a lot with the defense because he wants them to have that full 360 dimensional view of football, because you need to know both. But not everyone has that view, has that approach. But obviously Shanahan doesn't. It's worked quite well for him. And so that's why I just think that Jayden Daniels is poised to really have a lot of success early on. The one thing that I would like to see him do is to get a little bit thicker, get a little bit bigger, just because to be able to endure the impact of the NFL. He's definitely like a little skinny, and it's not to say that he's got to get like jacked, but I think since he's going to be moving around so much more and probably taking some hits, that it would work well for him to gain some muscle, gain some weight, especially because if he's not a run first quarterback, then you don't have to worry too much about that slowing you down. Because I think Jayden Daniels, and this is really with most running quarterbacks, the sweet spot is to not be able to say, okay, I'm averaging 60, 70, 80 yards a game, or I'm ripping off for like a 25-yard gain. Like, all that stuff is exciting and it's fun to watch, and it makes you think, oh my God, who can stop this person? But we just know historically that does not lead. And again, I'm not saying that this is Jayden Daniels' approach or how he's going to win, but we just know in general that that's not the way to go. But what we also know is that a lot of these young quarterbacks who can move around and run, they do rely on that because it's a lot easier for them, right? Because if they're just faster and quicker than all these other players, right, they can abandon their reads. They don't have to they don't have to have the courage to throw the ball down the field in a tight window throw. They could just rip off for a run. So we've seen it again and again and again and again that these young quarterbacks, they fall back on their run. And I just hope that Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn, for that matter, will be able to manage that a little bit. And to me, the sweet spot is like, yes, when the field opens up, run and get those extra yards. But again, the goal is not like, all right, I can rip off a 20-yard run. To me, it's more about like, is there an opportunity for me just to be able to get 4, 5, 6 yards and then slide, get out of bounds, whatever it may be? Just move the chains. Keep the defensive line exhausted and tired and frustrated, right? That you're kind of scrambling and buying time. I'd rather him buy time and look down the field the whole time to only then just throw the ball away, right? Like, I just think that that's a better skill set and better, I don't want to say training, but better development in terms of long-term trajectory, rather than, dude, did you see that Jayden Daniels ran for 130 yards last game? Like, that was wild. And again, as Sims pointed out, it is a kind of misleading to say that he's a run-first quarterback. But again, the thing that I'm trying to highlight is that once you get in the NFL, the passing game seems to come a little bit slower for any quarterback. Even if you're just a pure pocket passer quarterback, it's just a lot harder to develop than if you're just lightning quick and fast. Like, if you're fast and you're quick, there doesn't really need to be much training within the NFL. You will be able to outrun these players, right? You have a hole, you take it, boom, you go. That's why we see them rely on that all the time, and I can't blame them. So, but I'm just thinking that's more short-term games for Jayden Daniels and the Commanders versus long-term. And I just think that especially with Cliff Kingsbury experience with Kyler Murray, with the Arizona Cardinals, that he's very much well poised to be able to set Jayden Daniels up for not only immediate success, but then also long-term success. And I think Quinn balances that out. So I think there should be nothing but optimism with the Washington Commanders. I think they're a pretty exciting team, and they may be a dark horse to make the playoffs. I don't think that they'll have enough to win the division unless the Eagles and the Cowboys prove to be fool's gold, but it is definitely a possibility that that the Washington Commanders could potentially sneak in through the wild card. So, like I said, nothing but optimism. But I think the Commanders are more on like a 3-year plan, where then I think after that, right, within the next couple of years, they will definitely be contenders, and I think they'll be fighting for NFC East division titles and more. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Jayden Daniels? Do you think that he's ready right now, like Sims is saying, and can have immediate success with the Washington Commanders? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.